Hi guys, it's David here from Right On Resources, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Level 2 Functional Skills Qualification for English. Now specifically we're going to be focusing on letter writing, so a guide on writing letters with success. I chose to make this video because this is something that I've found a lot of learners struggle with, so I'm going to go through some tips and advice on how to structure a response. So writing a letter is a key element of the course, not just because it's something you might have to do in the actual exam, but also because it helps you to develop some of the key skills that are needed for employment and everyday life. So before we move on, I want you to ask yourself, how confident do you feel about writing a letter for the exam? In the past, I've had many learners that have hoped they get anything but a letter come up. So I want you to take a moment and think, how confident would you be right now if this came up in your exam? If you're unsure, if you think it's something you need to go on and spend some more time, pay attention to the rest of this video and also our follow-up video that is going to look at a model response on how to answer this question properly. So before we actually look at the exam question, we're going to have a look at some of the layout features. Now this is one of the key things that trip a lot of people up when they come to do this sort of written task. So this is how you need to set out the start of a letter. So the first thing you need to think about is including your own details. So your street, the town, or the postcode. So the writer's address will go here. I would advise you not to use your own details. I'd say to make them up just to make sure that you're being safe and cautious when you're writing your response. After you've done this, you then need to include the date. So including the date that this video is made, the 4th of September 2021. After that, we need to have the recipient's details. So when I'm saying the recipient, that means the person that the letter is addressed to. So in terms of our audience, who is it we're actually targeting? Who is it our writing is aimed towards when we come to write our letter? The other features you need to be aware of are things like this. So when you start your letter, if you don't know the person, you need to say "Dear Sir" or "Madam." We do this because you might not know who the person is that you're actually addressing. It might be someone in a certain position, it might be a head teacher, it might be a local MP, but you might not necessarily know whether it's male or female, or you might not know what the actual recipient's name is. When you move on to this and you start your actual writing, you'll need to indent the first line of your writing to mimic the typical style that we get for letters. So after "Dear Sir" or "Madam", your first line is going to come down directly after the comma, and you're going to explain the purpose of your writing. So why are you writing? What do you hope to achieve by them listening to the things you have to say? After that, we need to think about what are you actually going to talk about in your writing. Now you might have talked about this briefly in that previous line where you explain the purpose of your writing, but the main bulk of your writing needs to consist of 3 main paragraphs where you outline 3 separate points, one per paragraph, relating to the question that you'll be answering. Most of the time on the functional skills course, you will be tasked with writing a formal letter rather than an informal letter. This is because a formal letter is something that we're going to use more often in everyday life. So things like applying for jobs or writing about grievances, these are typically the things you would need to be able to do in terms of a formal letter. One of the biggest things that I've found people get confused on is how to end a letter. So very simply, when you're doing a formal one, it often ends with "yours faithfully" followed by your name. So that is because we will not know who that person is, and that is the more respectful way to end a formal letter. If you do know the person, however, you can end it with "yours sincerely" followed by your name. It's really important that you know the difference between these two and the situations where you will use them. So again, if you look at the image in the top left hand corner, you can see there the formal one is the more business, kind of professional type of letter, whereas the one at the bottom is the more informal, the more casual. So you'll probably use the one that's informal if you're writing to friends or family and someone that you have a pre-existing relationship with. In your exam, you might be faced with an exam question looking something like this. So it says task 1. Your school or college is considering having all of their lessons online in the future. Write a letter to the principal to express your views on the matter. In your response, you should write in the correct format for a letter. So when we say that, we're thinking about the kind of format that we looked at on the previous slides. Express your views clearly and logically. If you do this, this shows that you've thought about it and that you've planned out the actual issues that you want to address. Use language to persuade your audience. So these are going to be the typical language techniques that you would have covered in the reading part of your course and also when you first started looking at writing. If you are unsure about what these are, please do check out our previous lesson on the writing exam as well, which covers this in depth. And use a range of punctuation for clarity and accuracy. Now you do get marks on your spelling, punctuation and grammar, so please make sure that this is an area that you go back to, you revise and you keep making sure that you're doing this in your writing. If you need any extra support or help with any part of your English qualification, then new videos will be added each week. Alternatively, you can leave us a comment or even visit our partner channel called Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. If you like this lesson and you'd like a model response based on the exam question we went out for, then look out for our next video, Letter Writing 2, which will be uploaded soon. Best of luck guys, thank you.